Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to be changing the front and rear brakes on my wife's 2015 Jeep Cherokee here. If you're new here, welcome to the channel and don't forget to subscribe. So the other day, my wife texted me a very concerning question. She said, hey, it's normal for the brakes to feel bumpy when going downhill, right? So I went ahead and took a look at the brakes and they for sure need to be replaced. So when you're looking for brakes, you might notice that there are different kinds out there. I've seen brakes for different vehicle codes. I've seen brakes that just say heavy duty or light duty. And the best advice I can give you is to call your dealer, give them the VIN, and they should be able to let you know what brakes you need. Now, you don't necessarily have to buy the brakes at the dealer, but it should give you a rough idea of what you need to get from your local auto parts store. Now, I do know that if you have the dual piston caliper, chances are you have the heavy duty brakes and you're gonna need the heavy duty brakes. Other than that, that is the best advice that I can give you on finding brakes for your vehicle. Now for the front, it's pretty straightforward. So the first step in this process is you want to make sure that you chock your wheels. If you know, you know. The next thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and pop your hood and locate your brake fluid reservoir, which should be right about here. Next, we're going to want to go ahead and remove our cap and take a look. You should be able to see it on the side, but I always have a hard time seeing, so I like to look right down in and see where about my brake fluid level is at. Now these do have a minimum and a maximum mark, and you want to make sure that it's not to the max mark, because what's going to happen is you're going to recompress your calipers. It's going to push all that fluid back into the reservoir, and chances are it's going to overfill. So if you have more than enough fluid in your reservoir, you might think about pulling some out before you get any further. Now in my case, I'm about an inch below the max mark, so I'm just going to keep an eye on it as I move along to make sure that I'm not overfilling it. Now the next thing is you want to go ahead and remove your wheel, so that way we can access our brakes. Then you're going to remove your two caliper bolts here. There's one right here on top and one in the same spot on the bottom. We're just going to go ahead and remove those. Make sure that you're holding on to your caliper here tight, because it may want to fall on you. Now a lot of people will say to wire this up out of the way or to set it aside somewhere, but you still need to work on it. So what I like to do is just kind of rotate it and set it right up on top like so. And then I don't have to worry about it. Now once you've done that, your brakes should be relatively easy to pull off. They might even just fall off. Now replacement's pretty simple. Just set the new ones in there the same way that the old ones came out. Simple as that. Now I know a lot of people will preach brake grease. If you believe in it, you believe in it. If you don't, you don't. It's up to you whether you would like to use brake grease or not. I know a lot of mechanics that advise against it. I know a lot of mechanics that say it doesn't matter because they don't put brake grease on it from the factory. Either way it goes, I'm not going to put any on this unless I do have problems with a bunch of noise. Then I'll go ahead and pull the wheel off and I'll grease it up and put it all back together. If you do decide to use brake grease, you just want to use it on any metal-to-metal contact parts. So like right here in these clips, or on the back plate of this here, it'll just make it a little slippery between the metal and metal parts, and that's all you're looking for. Now once your brake pads are in place, it's time to reinstall the caliper. Now because your new pads are definitely going to be thicker than your old ones, your caliper is going to need to be recompressed. Now they do make a lot of different tools for compressing your calipers, but whatever tool you use, you want to make sure that you protect your pistons and the boots. And the way I go about that is I always just put the old pad back in, use the gap, push up against the pad, and compress those pistons. They do make a lot of tools for doing this. If you don't have the right tool, it's not that big a deal. A lot of times you can just use a C-clamp to squeeze in here and squeeze in here, and that will compress it and you will be good to go. Now I will go ahead and put some links down in the description below to some tools for compressing the caliper. So with our caliper compressed, we're going to go ahead and set it on here and get our bolts started. And according to my Haynes manual, these bolts torque to 32 foot-pounds. Now I just need to put my wheel back on here, do the other side, and then I can get started on the back. Now the process for doing the rear is just a little bit different. The biggest difference is it starts from inside the cab of the vehicle. Because this car has an automatic electronic parking brake, we need to make sure that we put the parking brake into a service mode. and let me show you how to do that real quick. So you want to make sure that your key or your start-stop button is in the run position. Once we're in the run position, we're going to go ahead and go to our apps. Scoot on over here to settings. Once you're in settings, you should see the one here that says brakes. And you want to go for service mode. You should have this pop up here. It says, would you like to retract your park brake to allow for brake system service? And we're going to go ahead and click yes. If you have this pop up here, it means you forgot to release your parking brake the same way I did. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Alright, let's try that again. We're going to go into service mode. Would you like to retract park brake to allow for brake system service? Yes. You should hear a little whirring. And it will say park brake retracted. To reset, press brake pedal and activate park brake switch. So we are good to go to work on the rear brakes. So now with our parking brake in service mode and our wheels chocked, which is a very important step, I'm going to go ahead and remove this wheel and get started on the rear brakes. Now when doing the rear brakes, it's not absolutely necessary to completely remove your caliper. You should be able to remove your bottom bolt and actually rotate the caliper out of the way. Once it's up and out of the way, all we need to do is repeat what we did on the front. We're going to compress our caliper and then replace our pads and put them in the exact same way that they came out. So the final step in this process puts us back in the cab. And the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and set our parking brake how we normally would. Once you do that, you should hear a little whirring, and then you should have this displayed on your screen. Once you do that, you want to pump up your brakes a few times to get rid of any play in your calipers from where you back them all the way off. And then once that's completed, all you need to do is double check your fluid in your reservoir and take it out on a test drive. And with that, that is going to be the end of this video. If you like this video and you found it helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up. As always, don't forget to subscribe. You can check me out on Instagram at It's Project Venture, as well as the Tickety Talk at It's Project Venture. Thanks for watching. Because I know somebody has already commented below before they got to this point, yes, I know bouncing brake pedal means warped rotors. Before I bought my parts, I went ahead and took this out on a test drive, and everything for the most part felt absolutely normal to me, so I wasn't worried about warped rotors. I just figured I'd change them to be better safe than sorry, and I did find problems with my brake pads. Anyway, thanks for watching. Simple as that.